All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to this webinar that's focused on helping you how to successfully start your business. My name is Brian Van Hook. I'm the Regional Director of the Florida SBDC at FIU. I will turn it over to my colleague, Alexis Fox, because she can give you some of the housekeeping and also some background on our center and some really great partners that we have in the community.
Thank you so much, Brian. As Brian mentioned, we work with the South Florida SBDC at FIU. I am the marketing and training manager here, and my name is Alexis Fox. I would like for you all to note that if you have any questions or comments during today's webinar, that you please put them in the Q&A section, not in the chat. Please use the Q&A section if you have any questions or comments during today's presentation. Today's presentation is also recorded and will be available to you on YouTube. At the end of the presentation, you will get a follow-up email within a few days that will have the link to view the presentation in its entirety on YouTube, as well as any additional slides or resources from today's presentation. So a little bit about the SBDC. We are funded in part through a cooperative agreement with the US SBA. We are not the only center in Florida. We have a number of centers throughout the state, going as far north as the Panhandle and as far south as into the Keys. We do one-on-one business consulting. We cover a wide range of topics, including but not limited to startup assistance, access to capital, international trade development, marketing, growth strategies, government contracting. We also conduct a number of information, data, and market resource projects, and we offer free trainings and workshops like the one you are attending today. This is our team of consultants. They cover a wider range of expertise and areas of expertise and are available for you to work with once you register for the SBDC, and we will provide a link for you to do so. We also have consultants in the Keys, so if you are not located in Miami specifically, if you are in any of the Keys, Marathon Key, Islamorada, Big Pine Key, and so forth, you can connect with our Florida Key Center. They now have a physical location, and you can receive resources and support as well. So one of the main resources and partners that we have is Verizon. They have what's called a small business digital ready platform. And they offer a program in that platform, and it is comprised of peer learning, peer networking, one-on-one coaching, and incentives for you. It is a free online course and hub that's developed by experts and small business owners such as yourself to enhance your digital skills and help you succeed in this very digital economy. So some of the main benefits of this platform is that it is self-paced. You can enroll in as many subjects as you want or that you feel your business would need. The time frame of those courses and networking events range from as short as 15-minute courses to as long as an hour-long networking. They are expert-led by different small business owners and experts in the field. They offer the opportunity for you to ask questions and also join live events. One of the main benefits is also that there's a $10,000 grant cycle where you can apply for the grant and receive that funding. So this is what the hub looks like. These are the resources that are available. Again, you can choose from any number of topics that you think would best benefit your business, and then you can take the course. As you can see, there are courses for 13 minutes, 36 minutes, so it's really up to you. As Verizon understands that as a small business owner, you have a lot on your plate and they want to optimize your time. Thanks. Okay, so as we mentioned, there is a $10,000 grant cycle that is currently open. The last submission date for that grant is on December 10th of this year. So with you completing a combination of any two eligible courses between now and December 10th and applying by 11:59 p.m. Pacific time on December 10th, you will be eligible to be considered for the grant. Late applications are not considered, and nor do they do for non-for-profit businesses. Next. So again, you have to complete the required combination of virtual events or coursework within the digital platform, which will give you the link to register. And then once you've completed that, you'll see an option on the grant page to get started. If you've completed your 2 resources and are not able to access the grant, please contact Verizon directly at digitalready@verizon.com. The applications do not roll over to later rounds. You must submit a new application for each grant cycle, but you are allowed to submit as many times as you'd like. And this is what the grant eligible page looks like, so you'll know when you navigate to it. And if you're ready to sign up, we have a QR code on the screen with our personalized link to access the Digital Ready platform and learn more about the grant information, or you can use the link in our chat.
Mhm.
Thank you. So
No, thanks,
Brian
Alexis.
oh, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say thanks, Alexis.
No problem. Brian is not only our regional director, but he's also your presenter for today.
Mhm.
He's a native from Louisiana, and he has 20 years of experience working with the federal government, both as an employee and as a federal resource partner. He has worked with the U.S. Senate and the U.S. Department of Commerce, and in these roles, Brian has worked on both creating national business policy and assisting individual businesses such as yourself to grow and access capital. So he is a wealth of knowledge in starting businesses and the resources that you all will need and find handy. And without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Brian.
Yeah, thank you, Alexis. And I have a tough job. I have to follow that great rundown on SBDC, on the state network, and also on Verizon. I would definitely encourage you guys to follow Alexis' advice in terms of Verizon Digital Ready. It's a great resource if you're starting a business. There's a lot of really great courses. Like she said, it's 30 minutes, 13 minutes. They have like meetups, events. Here in Miami, they've actually had events on FIFA, on different types of things doing business. They have things at different NFL stadium. So they have like a lot of really good local events to connect. So definitely take advantage of those resources, and we'll give you some additional resources as we go through the presentation. Before we get into it, I do want to give you guys an disclaimer. The information we're going to provide you today is to provide help you on entrepreneurship, the steps you want to take to successfully start your business. I can't cover everything. I don't know your business. I don't know you in particular, like your scenario, your circumstances. So there might be some steps that you want to take that we're not including in this review, especially like on the legal and tax side. So if you want to understand any legal and tax obligations, for your new business, we would recommend that you consult with a tax or legal partner on those areas. But we were going to give you as much information as we can, a lot of really good information. It's going to kind of go up to the legal and tax side, but definitely don't want to claim that I'm an attorney. Like Alexa said, I'm C-SPAN famous. I worked in DC for 10 years, worked at our center for another 10 years. So definitely know a lot of information, but I don't know everything. So I did want to give that disclaimer as we get into it. This is a really great kind of individual slides in terms of starting your business. There are some 4 key steps that you want to take from when you have that really great idea, when you're getting into planning, when you're getting into financing the business, and then when you want to successfully launch the business. So we're going to kind of structure the discussion today around those 4 core areas. When you're coming up with that startup formula that you have, you really want to factor in a couple of things that you're considering. Number one, you don't have to invent like the best new thing in the world. You don't have to recreate a product or a service from scratch. Some of the most successful companies, they didn't actually come up with something new. They basically innovated on something that was already in the market. Examples are like Amazon. Originally it started just focused on books. Now you see it's on e-commerce, on selling everything. They have Alexa, they have a lot of other things that they do. Apple did not invent the phone. They basically were able to take the phone and create the iPhone and do a lot of other great products with it. Nike didn't invent shoes. They just innovated on existing things. Walmart was not the first retail store. They just basically had a really good system, good operations, good model, and was able to franchise really successfully and kind of branch out. And then Chobani, yogurt that everybody knows, they didn't invent yogurt. They basically were able to get it. Actually, fun fact about Chobani Yogurt, we talked about how we get funding from the SBA and we're an SBA resource partner. And actually, Chobani Yogurt started because they got an SBA loan. They actually got some financing to purchase like a factory and basically get going. And as they say, the rest is history. So those are examples of businesses that didn't invent something, a new product or service. They basically were able to innovate and be really successful. Some of the benefits to this particular strategy is, like we said, you don't have to invent something new, so you have lower costs. Also, you don't have to do all the R&D. It's an existing market. You can look at what your competitors are, what are their weaknesses, what are the market opportunities. So you'll have a competitive advantage coming in and being able to innovate. And I would tell you, one of the things that we always see from businesses that are looking to start up is most of the time you think you're the only one that does it. Nowadays, you have the internet, you have ChatGPT, you have a lot of other things you can do to help you research and find out about additional businesses. So I would really encourage you to do some research on who's out there in the market. They don't necessarily have to be here in Miami-Dade or in the Keys or South Florida, but look and see, maybe somebody's in California or they're like in Missouri or somewhere else. You really want to look at out there who's doing kind of what you're trying to do and how you can learn upon what they're trying to do. Um, and that'll make your business more successful. Also, I would mention in terms of the business, one thing is when you're planning out your business, you need to factor in what is your goal for the business. Some people want to start a business and sell the business. That is something, so they want to be entrepreneurial. So you might be like a serial entrepreneur and you want to start multiple businesses. That is a factor in terms of how you're starting the business and how you're growing the business. Versus if you want a business that's going to be like a lifestyle business that you're going to work in. Maybe you want to pass the business on to your family. Those are considerations that you need to take in terms of your planning and also how you're growing the business. Because, for example, if you're looking to sell the business. So you want to start a business, get a really good idea, grow the business, and then sell it for venture capital. In that case, you might not want to take on loans and things like that. You might go more the venture capital route or bootstrapping. If you are looking to do a lifestyle business, maybe in that respect, you might be more amenable to, like we said, bootstrapping is always usually the first place you start. But then in that case, maybe you might be open for like loans and SBA loans, commercial loans, micro loans. That might be a route that you could go with that particular business. So I would mention that that's not included in the slides, but that's some extra information I'd like to share because that will be something that's going to be how you grow the business and ultimately how you grow it, and then how you're looking to transition the business at the end. In terms of planning, you're going to need to do some proper planning to get that strong foundation. So some key things that we're going to talk about is understanding your market, developing a business model, and creating a business plan. So the market is basically the consumers that have something that you're going to sell, basically those unsatisfied wants and needs, and they're going to have the resources and the willingness to buy from you. So as an entrepreneur, you want to basically fill that need in the market. You want to offer top quality, great service, and a fair price. One of the great advantages of being a small business is that you have that ability to really know your market and then quickly adapt to market needs versus being some of those other businesses that we talked about where they're a lot larger. It's a lot tougher to turn the big ship than it is for you being a small business owner and being nimble. Industry and market research is something that you would conduct to understand your market. That can be done in person with consumers, with you and your team. You can also like utilize free databases such as the Census Bureau, the Federal Reserve, Department of Labor. Would definitely encourage you take advantage of those resources. Actually, a lot of times you can go to your local library and they'll have some of those databases, some of those other things that you can utilize. And then there are folks in the library that can actually help you to navigate to some of those resources. So we did include some links in there from the SBA. One is about market research and competitive analysis. The other was their learning center that has some additional resources. When you're looking at that market research, you want to look at potential demand, market size, your market competition, the economic indicators, locations, and pricing. An example is right now, if you're looking to start anything in terms of products or goods, one of the things you do need to factor in right now is like the tariff situation. I know that is impacting a lot of businesses and the supply chain and their pricing. So that would be something you would want to research in terms of, is my product subject to tariffs? Is the country that I'm looking to import from or like work with, is that country subject to those tariffs? That would be something you would factor in that's more on the economic indicator side. When you're looking at your business model, you want to look at two things. You want to look at your value proposition and your go-to-market strategy. The value proposition is basically your clear and compelling statement on what unique value your company brings to the market. Some questions you can ask yourself is, what do you offer to the customer? What needs are you satisfying? And then how are you different from the competition? Like we said, in terms of competition, there could be your price obviously is one point that you could make. The product, maybe you have like higher end products, like more high quality. Maybe you have your marketing is a little bit different. Maybe you're focused on a particular area of Miami-Dade. You know, you're focused on a couple of different neighborhoods and really kind of working on those. So there's a couple of different ways you can be different from the competition. In terms of your go-to-market strategy, that's basically your roadmap on how you're going to get your product or service to the customers. The go-to-market strategy differs from the marketing strategy as it's more tactical. It's focused on how do you achieve your value proposition? How do you set yourself apart from your competition? And it does need to be consistent with your marketing strategy. Some key things you're going to look at is define your target market, identify your customer, show how you're going to reach them, and then what are your pricing models? An example is like if you're doing a restaurant concept. In terms of restaurants, there's different types of concept. There's like fast casual, there's more like fine dining, there's food trucks, there's a lot of other different models that you're looking at. And the pricing and the structure and different things like that are kind of set out in those different models. So you would have a different go-to-market strategy. You would have a different marketing strategy based on what different types of models you're setting up. In terms of business planning, many business owners that we work with, they get stuck when you get to the business plan. So they've got a great idea, they're very excited, they want to get moving, they have some ideas about some things they could do. And then when you have to think about doing a business plan, they kind of get stuck. But the good thing about a business plan is that it forces you to like put on paper what you're going to offer and what you're going to do. And also, it would be mandatory in terms of talking with bankers or talking with investors. A business plan is more geared towards more traditional financing or kind of planning. So you would use that with a banker, with a bank. For investors, they usually like a pitch deck. So it's a little bit shorter. It's usually more of a PowerPoint. And so you have two different ways to look at it. But either way, you're going to need the type of information that you're putting into a business plan to incorporate both of those. So want to stress with you, don't let the idea of drafting a business plan delay your opportunity. We really want to get what's in your head and get it onto the page. And as you do the roadmap for your business, it's going to really help you to navigate the business. It's a living document. You can change it. So you can basically do a couple things. So the components of a business plan includes like, who are you? Why you're in business? What do you do? How are you going to do it? Where do you operate? How are you going to generate profits? Who are your customers? Why this business is important. So those are some of the key components that you're going to have. The blueprint for any successful business plan is kind of those four different components to start off. An executive summary, usually you do an executive summary at the end. So you will put together all the other aspects of it and then kind of fill it in based on the information you put in. You'll talk about your personnel, your experience, what do you bring to the table, how are you going to organize the business, what are the operating procedures, what's the industry. You're going to do that competitive analysis that we talked about. Also customers, what are your products or services, any kind of marketing aspects that you want to talk about, your sales strategy, a financial breakdown, and then any optional appendices that you want to include. Maybe there might be some good information that you can put in there to really showcase your business and stand apart. We talk about business planning. One thing that a lot of businesses utilize successfully is a business model canvas. Basically, a business model canvas is a one-page document. It doesn't replace a full-blown business plan, but it's a way for you to kind of get started in that respect. And at the end of the presentation, we do have some different links for business model canvases, but it is a good way. And the image up there shows you kind of what is a business model canvas look like. And it is a really good way to kind of jumpstart, get those creative juices flowing and get things moving. You definitely need to tailor your business plan to your audience. It's going to have similar elements to like a large Fortune 500 company, but it doesn't have to be that complex. The executive summary is really going to catch the reader's interest and draw in like, folks to read through the plan. Like I said, most executive summaries, you're going to do that at the end. So you're going to kind of do everything else in the plan and then fill in the executive summary based on some of the information that you put in because it really is summing up kind of the overall plan. In terms of financing, so that's very important. You can't get a business going on a hope and a dream. You actually do need to have some financing involved. It could be bootstrap, it could be very small scale to start, but you do need to have some skin in the game when you're starting the business. So like we mentioned in the slide, basically you're gonna have some bills that you need to pay, some expenses you need to cover before you start getting in those sales. So the first step will be to calculate your startup expenses. That does vary depending on if it's a bricks and mortar business, like a traditional business, like a Main Street business, or if you're doing services, or if you're having just strictly online or e-commerce business. So you do want to factor that in. Like we said, depending on the business category, you want to start that list of key expenses that you're going to have when you start the business. That could be your office space, that could be inventory, equipment, any licenses, insurance, salaries. So you want to factor all those type of things in. You want to estimate how much they're going to cost. You want to look at one-time expenses, basically things that are just going to be a one-off, and things that are monthly, like recurring expenses. You definitely want to do 1 year of expenses, but if you can project out to 3 years or 5 years, that's going to be really helpful, especially when you're looking for financing. But just to get started, you can start with 1 year and then basically get going in that respect. The financial projections, basically, it does explain like any revenue forecast, how much money you have and how much you need. It does focus on when and how you're going to get a profit. Maybe if it's a seasonal business, obviously the end of the year is the magic time for a lot of businesses. So maybe you're going to project that you're going to kind of have some lean times during the year, but then you're going to have a big ramp up as we get into the holiday season. Or maybe your time of year that you're going to get a lot of revenues in the summer. So it definitely varies depending on the business. You're going to want to talk about what your marketing and operational processes and plans will cost. And in regards to the financial projections, you're going to work on 3 core financial statements. And I would do a big shout out to our team. We have a lot of really good information on our YouTube page about these financial documents and these financial statements. So I would encourage you to circle back to our YouTube page after the webinar or after you watch this because we do go through these in great detail and some additional videos. You're going to have a balance sheet, you're going to have your cash flow projections, and then you're going to have your profit and loss. So those are kind of the 3 core statements for any business. The balance sheet is your company's assets. It's going to have liabilities, any equity from shareholders. We did put like an example of a balance sheet from the SBA in the presentation, so you can look at that on your own time. Cash flow projections is basically the inflow. So it's money coming in and money coming out of your business over a specific period of time. It's going to basically help you to track your financial obligations and plan for the future. Like see, is your business making a lot of money, but are you cash flow poor? Like how is it working in regards to your business? Again, we did give you a sample cash flow statement via the SBA, so we did include that link in the presentation. For profit and loss, that's basically the company's revenue minus expenses. It's really going to give you a good rundown in terms of fixed expenses, variable expenses, and it's going to help you in terms of the cash flow and your profit and loss. Basically, it's going to show when money's coming out, how it's used. Um, for your business, I would say all 3 of these statements are very important. The profit and loss is very important to banks. The cash flow is very important to banks as well. So I mentioned, you do want to understand all 3 of those statements because you might get asked for one or all of them. And then again, we did include a sample from the SBA that you can look at to kind of get started. Another document that you can look at is your break-even analysis. That's basically the sales threshold that you need to be surpassed before you're going to become profitable. It's okay if your business is not profitable day one, but you do want to be working towards that. Like I mentioned in the beginning, some of the businesses that are startups that are like venture capital tech, sometimes they might not be break even, before the business is sold, but they need to show revenue, they need to show customers, that, they got some traction. So for that, but for more traditional businesses, you definitely do need to show that you're working towards making a profit and that you're going to break even or get ahead. Now that we've gone over like startup expenses and the different statements, we got to talk about how do you fund your particular business. As I mentioned a couple of times, bootstrapping is usually the most traditional way to fund the business because you're going to retain ownership of the business, you're going to control direction of your own business. If you start getting in investors, that's where you would need to give up some ownership in exchange for funding, but then they might also want some say over how you're going to run the business. That there's a lot of like movies and a lot of different TV shows and things about venture capital and folks coming in. Sometimes it is really a value added to the business. Think about Shark Tank and things like that, where people come in and have industry experience and connections that you don't have. They can really help your business and take it and grow it and take it to the next level. But you do give up some control in some aspects of the business when you're taking on those financing. So you want to be aware that if you're bootstrapping on your own, you're paying out of your own pocket, that you're going to assume all the risk that could impact your personal finances, and it could delay your retirement if you're not careful with how you're running the business. So, but that is the most traditional way for people to get started is to basically utilize some funds out of their savings or out of their own pocket to kind of get started. Additional ways that you can fund the business is local small business grants. Usually those are from local municipalities. Alexis just talked about Verizon has a grant opportunity. There are mission-based lenders, which are mostly like CDFIs that offer financing. Obviously, you have SBA, you have microloans, friends and family rounds are mostly focused on investors, but those are people that you know from the community. There's commercial loans that you can get from a traditional bank. Crowdfunding, peer-to-peer are kind of like new innovations in terms of funding. And then obviously the traditional angel investors and venture capital and equity are some additional options as well. The continuum is we're phrasing it like that because it is something that it goes around. You could bootstrap, you could basically go and get an SBA loan. You could come back and you could get venture capital, or you could go back and get a commercial loan, or you could get like a mission-based loan from like a local CDFI. You could basically go around the continuum a little bit, but that's why we kind of phrase it that way, and that's why we structure it in terms of the discussion. So like I said, basically, kind of gave you the tip on that already. It's a road or a pathway, so you can access it at different points. Definitely depends on the stage of your business, what industry you're in, how your business is structured. I talked about at the beginning. Are you structured more for like traditional financing and you want to leave a legacy to your family? Is it a business that you want to grow really quickly and you want to bring in some venture capital and maybe eventually sell the business? The type of capital that you need, what you need it for, that could depend on what type of funding you're going for. And then there are other factors to consider, your credit history, the finances of the business, things like that. So let's talk about launching the business. The final step that you're going to do to incorporate and launch your business. There's 4 different types of business ownership. One is sole proprietorship. So this is where the business is owned and usually managed by one person, or by you. When you do a partnership, that's 2 or more legally obligated people that are co-owners of the business. Um, so that's like where a sole proprietorship, you're doing it on your own. Partnership is a couple of people, like 2 or more people. A corporation is a legal entity that has the authority to act and have liability apart from its owners. And then obviously you have the LLC, that's the most common, is also offers protection to the owner from personal liability for any debts that a business incurs. Would stress again, definitely you need to look at what type of business you're getting into, what type of industry. For example, let's say you're getting into cosmetics. Cosmetics is one of the most litigious industries out there. Somebody could put a cream that you developed onto their skin. 99 people out of 100 could not have any kind of reactions, and it could be the best product ever. One person could basically get it, have a bad reaction. They could come back and try to sue you. So you definitely want to think through the industry you're getting in, how you structure the business, because there are different protections and different liabilities. And also, if you're getting into a partnership, it's just like anything. You definitely want to think through who you're getting into business with. How is it working? You know, how could it work down the road? We've seen a lot of businesses where the partners get along for a very long time, but then there are some disagreements about the business, and then they kind of want to separate or sell the business. So you do want to think about those type of things, just like anything about where they say getting into business, it becomes like a family. So you do want to understand who you're getting into business with, and kind of also, like I said, about how you're structuring the business. Um, like we said, certain business structures have advantages. There are factors to consider, like personal liability, your taxes paid, paperwork that's required to file with the government. Definitely, as we gave you at the beginning, you don't want to consult with an attorney or an accountant in terms of like any guidance or considerations for your particular business. I would also give a shout out to the SBA. They have a really great chart that does outline the different types of business structures and different considerations. So we did include that link in the presentation. In terms of starting a business, one of the first things is in the state of Florida, you want to search if your business name is available. So sunbiz.org is the kind of key website for that. The website also has a lot of really good startup resources, legal forms, like different business regulations in Florida. If you're looking to create like a fictitious name for your business, you can also search on there as well and see, is the business name that you're going to do, is that available? And then would the fictitious name be available as well? An example is like sometimes people want to do a business that is like Brian's, Brian's Startup 123, and it's an LLC business. But then you have like a fictitious name, a DBA that you're using in terms of your marketing and things like that for the business. So there is like two different ways that you can structure the business on it. So definitely start Sunbiz is a great resource, and you can look up a lot of that kind of stuff. They also walk you through some of those things. Also would encourage you to check out the IRS website. As people always say, it's like death and taxes, or like the things that are most reliable in life. And so the IRS definitely is some place you want to look. They do have different resources where you can look at like tax forms, startup resources, information on how you can get your EIN number. That is kind of like your social security number for your business. So if you're looking to open a bank account, you're looking to do anything else, you would need that. And like our slide says, basically, an EIN helps you register the business entity. If you're getting any type of loan, if you want to open that bank account, if you want to do any kind of tax or filing, reporting, you would need that EIN number as well. So definitely check out the IRS website. They have a lot of good information there. So I'm assuming you're starting a business here in South Florida, whether that's Miami-Dade County, Monroe County, it could be Broward or Palm Beach. If you are looking to start a business in Miami-Dade, the county website has really good resources for starting the business that can covers like permitting, licensing requirements, any employer resources. So we did include that particular website up there to pay attention to. Would definitely shout out this slide. But a lot of businesses will do all the steps right. They'll go to Sunbiz, they'll basically register on Sunbiz, they'll go to the IRS website, but they forget a key step, which is to get a local business tax receipt. Basically, depending on your municipality, depending on your county, you are required to get a local business tax receipt, also called occupational license. And so you basically want to look into that, and you want to get it. If you don't get it when you start, you are going to have to pay back. And also you could have like different fines and things like that if you don't have it up to date. The county issues local business tax receipts for 1 year starting October 1st. So we're like right at the start of it being in November, and it expires on September 30th. So if you're located within a particular municipality, you are required to get both a city receipt and a county receipt. You should display the local business tax receipt prominently in your business. You see a lot of businesses, it is like one of the most proud things that they have. They'll have up like it in a frame, they'll have it like on the wall or something. But you definitely want to get that. So you want to check the county website, because you're gonna have something on that aspect. You're also gonna have like whatever municipality or city you're in. They'll have additional information and requirements. So check both of those. But I really, really, really want to stress local business tax receipt because we have a lot of businesses that have been doing business for a very long time. They haven't done the local business tax receipt. Our consultants do have to mention it to them and work with them on it. So I would definitely encourage you to check into that and make sure you're on top of it. In terms of additional resources, um, including in this slide is like the business plan center, included Sunbiz. SBA has a small business launch guide that we included. As we mentioned, Miami-Dade County has a small business website. And then also the state of Florida has some business registrations. In terms of the startup formula, there's basically 13 steps that you have to make your business legitimate. You want to choose the business name. You want to choose the business address. You want to create your business entity, register the business, get the relevant license and permits that we just talked about. Depending on your industry, there might also be some additional licenses you need to get. For example, if it's a food business, there are things you need to get through the state of Florida, locally as well in terms of permits. You definitely want to request that employee EIN, the employer identification number. That's basically, again, like your social security number for your business. Additional aspects is to open a business bank account for your business. You're going to need the EIN to start it. You're going to look for a business credit card or a microloan to finance the business. Establish business credit, very important, because when you build up that business credit, that will help you as you're looking to grow the business. Those are aspects that you can basically get, and you can use that type of business credit, increase your lines. Sometimes you wouldn't need to get like financing because you can use it and pay it off based on your revenues. Set up your bookkeeping for your business. Have a really good bookkeeper, have a good accountant to kind of keep up with that. Those are things that are standard for any business. There are a lot of things you can get like QuickBooks and things like that to get online. It does help if you have somebody who's an expert that can review it with you. And I would definitely shout out our team. We do have a lot of really good courses that we've done in the past on QuickBooks and optimizing QuickBooks for your small business. We've done community trainings in person in the past. So we definitely encourage you to check out our YouTube page for that. Um, we talked about go-to-market strategy and connecting with consumers. Creating a website is very important. You do want to publicize your business, get the word out there. You can set up like e-commerce aspects to it. There's a lot of really good companies that'll help you to set up the website. You don't have to be a web designer to set it up. Have that business phone number so that people can call you. It could be a Google number that routes to your phone, but you do need like a separate number that people can contact you, especially with all the different registrations and things that you're doing. And then registering your business with different online services. So we did cover a lot, I know, guys. But like I said, for the presentation, we want you to be successful. So what we did is include a lot of those links and resources that you can take advantage of as you're looking to start your business. And I would definitely shout out our team. You guys are old friends with Alexis and I now that we've been through the webinar. But would definitely encourage you to take advantage of the resources that our team and our consultants have. And we're very collaborative. So if there are additional resources in the community, such as we're talking about Verizon and Digital Ready today, we are very open to connect you with additional service providers, like programs, like opportunities. We definitely want to connect you with everything that's available in the community. In terms of SBDC, here's all of our information. We included our website, which is very good. Has a lot of like really good information, resources. We did include our number up here. Also had our social media handles as well, whether it's YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. You can find us on all those channels. And then I will like check it out and see if you guys have any really good questions. for it, but I definitely want to thank you for the opportunity. If you would like to request to meet with a consultant, I'll leave it up for a minute, but that's our QR code to scan to register. And then we will send you a follow-up with a copy of the presentation. And as Alexis said, we will also give you the link to the YouTube as well. And with that, I'm gonna see if there's any questions. So I see the chat has been active. So I see Andres has been on there putting really good resources.
We
So
have
Alexis, you want to run down?
questions
Okay.
in the queue. The first question is from Marilyn Rojas, and
Mhm.
she wants to know, when you say go to market, how do you accomplish that?
Yeah, so it's a great question, Marilyn. In terms of go-to-market, as I said, there's the go-to-market strategy, which is how you're going to connect your product or your service to consumers. That is an aspect that you're going to consider when you're doing the business planning. It is separate to your marketing strategy, but it is something that you want to align with your marketing strategy. So we did include some resources in there in terms of go-to-market. So I would definitely encourage you to check out the slides that we included to provide you with some additional resources in that respect.
Okay. Wendy Stinger said, how do successful small businesses handle shipping costs, especially higher fees during the holiday season, since Amazon still offers free shipping?
Yeah, that's a great question. I would say that is something you do want to factor into your startup expenses. If you do have shipping costs, that is something that you factor in as like a cost of doing business for your particular business. That would be something you would factor into the pricing for your business. So you would practice like include it. You know how a lot of times people will say shipping and handling included, or some people offer free shipping for the particular products. So that's an aspect that you would include in as part of the business. It also is something you can research because there are different shipping options that are more cost effective than others. There are ones that if you set up an account, you can get a discount. Those are things that you can factor in when you're doing the business planning.
Okay. She also asked, does SBDC offer a course on how to create a business website that integrates Shopify?
I don't think we have a course on that. That is something you're catching us a good time. We're planning out events for the next year. So that's definitely something. I think that is something you can check it out. There are some different webinars that are available through other SBDCs, both here in Florida and around the country. Also would encourage you, there are some other resources like SCORE and additional ones, and the SBA website that do have some other links for that as well.
Yes, in addition to that, we will be launching shortly after we answer the questions, a small 5-question survey for you all to take before you log off. It asks questions like this. It asks what you would like to see other webinars and workshops about. So if you do want to give some feedback on the type of content that you see from the SBDC, please make sure that you fill that out before you log off. We have 3 more questions. We have Moise, who says, are there resources for startups? Are there resources for startups for their first tax filing report?
I think that's a great question. So from the state of Florida and the IRS, there are some different resources that are available. So I would definitely encourage you to check out the IRS website. They do make it kind of like um, geared towards startups so that you'll know what's out there. Also, there are some really good resources, web videos, things like that, for if you type in like small business and tax filing. They can actually walk you through it. I would encourage you to, in terms of local resources, there are some groups that can help you in those times where they do offer like tax advice and things like that where it's free. So I would encourage you to take advantage of those resources. They usually do come up around tax filing season.
Great. And I have posted the survey. So if you don't have any questions, you can begin to take the survey. Again,
Mhm.
it's just 5 questions. We appreciate the feedback. We have a question from Donita. Is there a one source website for various states to check business names that are already in use?
Yeah, I would say I'm not aware of that. An example I can give you is that my grandfather had a business for a very long time. He was in the oil field supply business, and he had a particular business name. For that business name, he owned it in his state in Louisiana. In Florida, there's a business that has the same exact business name. So if I ever wanted to start that business name, it's basically available in Louisiana, but it wouldn't be available in Florida. So I'm not familiar if there is like one website that goes across all the states. So you would have to basically look at whatever state you're looking to do business in and look in it. I would encourage you definitely look at not just like the regular name, but also like DBAs and fictitious names, because there could be like two different variations of the name where somebody maybe has that as like the registered name, but then somebody might have it as a DBA in another state. So you do want to look at both of them. But it's a good question.
Correct. Correct. And to add to what Brian is saying, if you do want to search within the state of Florida, you can use Sunbiz,
Hmm.
search DBAs and the full name. I have put the link to Sunbiz in the chat. So if anybody is interested in looking at that, you can. Also, make sure that you search for web domains as well.
Hmm. Yeah, because what's the point if you have a really good name, but you can't get the web domain,
Right,
right?
right.
Mhm.
Chandra Allen says, what is the best site to go to for specific resources for Texas?
Mhm. I would say I'm very familiar with Florida. I'm not as familiar with Texas. But I would recommend that maybe you look for Texas, and there is like usually a Department of Business Regulation or like business resources. So you could basically go and look up that. But there is like one organization that is kind of like Sunbiz, or one website for every state. So you would just look it up like state by state.
Okay. Thank you all so much. Those were some really great questions. Again, I see that about half of you have filled out the survey. Please
Mhm.
take some time, as we do have a little bit of time to spare, to continue to fill out that survey. It will help us to create more valuable resources, tools, and webinars for you all to attend.
Mhm.
And take a look at the chat. And if there's any of the links that you are interested in searching or want to apply for the Digital Ready program or to request consulting from the SBDC, please make
Mhm.
sure that you go ahead and copy those links, bookmark them. We will also be sending them in the follow-up email.
Yeah, and I just want to thank you guys for attending today. Like we always say from the center, when you're doing something, you're not doing something else. So the fact that you took time out of your day to listen to the webinar, we just really appreciate it. And I want to shout out Alexis and Andressa for putting together the webinar and for providing like key support as always on that. And definitely like fill out the survey, guys, because we want to know what was working, what you guys want, if there's any other things we can do. So it's definitely as helpful for us as we're doing additional trainings. So I think with that, Alexis, I think we can wrap up, right?
Yes, we can. I'm just gonna allow the rest of them to submit. And then once you've submitted your survey, please feel free to log out. Thank you all so much for attending, and please stay tuned and stay connected with us for any upcoming resources, webinars, and opportunities to better your business and help you guys succeed.
Yeah, and I do see Wendy, if you have any topics that you would like to hear, just feel free to send an email back. You will get an email from us with the follow-up, so you can email back on in that if you have any other ideas or suggestions or anything like that. So just thank you guys again for your time, and have a great rest of your week.
Thank you.
All right, take care.
Wendy, if you have suggestions about topics, you can email me directly if you do not see your topic choice in the drop-down list, and I will put my email in the chat. Chandra, if you are driving, you may not be able to see the survey on your screen. It will also be emailed to you. So if you're unable to see it on your screen, if you go down to where it says polls and quizzes, it should show you. If you still aren't able to see it, we will be emailing it out with the presentation and the recording. Okay, no problem, Wendy. Have a great day. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Chandra. You have a great rest of your day as well. Okay. And if you were not able to take it yet, I did add a QR code that you're able to take the survey using that as well. Okay, thank you so much.